Secrets. Hi, I'm Al Michaels, and even in this age of information overload with newspapers and magazines and television shows churning out an endless stream of information, we're often more fascinated finding out things we aren't supposed to know. There's an almost illicit thrill involved in knowing things that we shouldn't, in being a part of things that others aren't. A secret is a siren's call we frequently can't resist. Tonight, the dark side of James Dean. Did he leave a curse on the car he died in?
The curse on this car has made this probably one of the most wanted cars in the history of automobiles.
Think you can cheat the house? Well, in Las Vegas, the action may be on the floor, but the secrets are found in the ceiling.
These people practice day in and day out to beat the system.
I really shouldn't tell you this, but
He's known with awe as the Game Master, and he's about to spill the ultimate secrets of Nintendo.
I think the ultimate tip for Super Mario 3 is that there's a way that you can defeat King Koopa.
It's America's secret airline. If you meet the right qualifications, you fly for free. But there is one catch.
We don't serve coffee nor tea, just me.
What secrets does the sky hold over at Gulf Breeze, Florida?
Since a few people that were well respected in the community came forward and talked about their sightings, hundreds of others have chimed in to say, here I am to talk about it too.
So stay with us while we open the doors to a world of hidden information and reveal the truth behind America's best kept secrets. James Dean was only 24 years old when he died in a high-speed crash in 1955. His career was very short. It spanned only 3 films. And yet, after his death, his fame continued to grow, and he was elevated to legendary and finally cult status. James Dean left behind a legacy of teenage rebellion for an entire generation. But there are those who believe he left behind even more, a curse on the car he died in. In 1950, he made his first screen appearance, earning $30 for this TV commercial. That's Dean on the right, an early and, in retrospect, unlikely member of the Pepsi generation.
Pepsi-Cola hits the spot, a big, big bottle, and it's got bounce, bounce, bounce.
5 years later, he was a Hollywood phenomenon, although most of his fame came posthumously. At the time of his death, Rebel Without a Cause and Giant, his 2 biggest films, hadn't even been released. This is Dean's best-known scene, the chicken race from Rebel Without a Cause. But what's far lesser known is that off-screen, Dean was serious about racing. The mid-50s was Southern California's golden age of sports car racing, and Dean and his Porsche Speedster were well on their way to becoming fixtures in it. He started with a bang, winning the very first race he entered in Palm Springs. This is never-before-seen footage of Dean racing in May of 1955. It was just his second race, yet he finished 3rd against a pack of more experienced drivers. Then Dean wanted to step up in class. He was infatuated with the Porsche Spyder, the most sought-after new sports car in America.
The Porsche Spyder was developed specifically for racing by the factory in Germany. 5 Spyders were sent over to Johnny von Neumann's in California, and James Dean got the last Spyder.
The car excited him because the car was really going to be a race car for him. A sports racing car was narrowed it down for one thing, that was competition.
Dean's love affair with speed and racing fit in perfectly with his real-life persona. He sought out danger and loved to walk the edge, a brilliant but troubled young man possessed by demons only he could see. He was fascinated, some say obsessed, with death and the macabre. He liked to tell people he slept in a coffin and cultivated a relationship with TV's first glamorous ghoul, Vampira, who claimed to be a witch and sparked Dean's temporary interest in witchcraft and the occult. He was also photographed in mock hangings. Dean spoke often of death, especially his own, and said he had premonitions of it. But of all the eerie and ironic twists surrounding Dean's death, one stands out above all the rest. A public service television spot he made for the National Safety Council less than 2 weeks before he died.
Jimmy, we probably have a great many young people watching our show tonight, and for their benefit, I'd like your opinion about fast driving on the highway. Do you think it's a good idea?
It's a good point. I used to fly around quite a bit, you know, took a lot of unnecessary chances on the highways. And I started racing, and now I drive on the highways, I'm extra cautious. No one knows what they're doing. Half the time you don't know what this guy's going to do or that one.
Do you have any special advice for the young people who drive?
Take it easy driving. Life, you might say, might be mine.
13 days later, Dean and mechanic Rolf Wuthridge were driving the Spider to Salinas, California for a race Dean had entered. Still trying to break the car in, Dean kept it at high speed. But as they approached an intersection with another highway, a car coming in the other direction made a left turn directly in front of the Spider. Wuthridge was thrown from the car and, despite sustaining major injuries, survived. But Dean was mangled in the wreckage and died within minutes. After his death, a number of eerie mysteries and odd occurrences took place, centered around the wreckage of his car. The Spider had a rear engine, and while the body was smashed beyond repair, the engine and combined transmission and rear axle unit, known as the transaxle, were intact and were purchased by Dr. William Eskridge, a racing enthusiast. Dr. Eskridge installed the engine in his Lotus and loaned some parts to a racing friend, Dr. Troy McHenry. 13 months later, McHenry was killed while racing when his car slammed into a tree. In a separate accident in the same race, Dr. Eskridge was severely injured. Both cars still contained the parts salvaged from Dean's wreckage. It was the beginning of what came to be known as the curse of the James Dean car. The crumpled body of the car went on to a strange afterlife itself, once it was purchased by Hollywood car customizer George Barris, who took it on tour for the National Safety Council.
The trail of events started when, after the car was delivered to our plant by the yard that was storing it, it slipped off the dollies and fell on one of the attendant's legs and broke his legs. Then I started touring the car. It gets to Fresno, and we had the car stored in a building, get ready for the show, and the building burns down.
Later, when the car was being transported to, ironically, Salinas, the truck carrying it skidded. The driver was thrown out and crushed to death when Dean's car rolled off the flatbed. Things got even eerier after that when the car body itself disappeared.
After touring, we sent it to Florida to another one of the safety campaign. It was then loaded onto a truck that was to be brought back to California. Of course, 8 days later, when the truck arrived, there was no car on the truck. We were very surprised and amazed. The pink slip was still there, the copy of the title.
I don't believe that the car was chopped up for souvenirs. In all of my interviews and my writing over the years, I have never talked with anybody that has said that they have a piece of the car as a souvenir. I believe that the car is intact, and I believe that it's in hiding.
Because of the occurrences and the curse on this car by people getting hurt from being associated, touching it, whatever, has made this probably one of the most wanted cars in the history of automobiles.
To this day, the whereabouts of the car body is still a mystery. And did the alleged curse disappear with it? Well, we may have an answer soon, because the transaxle from Dean's car is still floating around 35 years later, with a trail extending from Hollywood all the way to Boston. Jack Stiles collects and races vintage cars and has a passion for Porsches. Tracing the original factory stamped serial number of the transaxle led us to Stiles, who's installed it in a Spider he's restoring and plans to race. He's not exactly worried about the Dean curse, but he is aware of it.
I'm looking at it mechanically. I just consider it another portion, just another piece of metal, and I don't think it has a curse on it. At the same token, I suppose I would go to more of a degree to make sure everything's correct on it. And hopefully in a short while it will be together and running. And then we'll see what happens with this curse.
Jack Stiles hopes to begin racing his Porsche Spider with the Dean transaxle in it in October. We'll be back in a minute with Las Vegas' secret weapon in the war against cheaters, the eye in the sky. And we'll reveal the tricks of the trade used car dealers don't want you to learn. with that much money in constant motion, larceny is a primary concern. But the odds are so stacked against cheaters that getting away with anything is now the longest shot in town. At the Las Vegas Hilton, as at all casinos, security is a high-stakes business. In fact, they're so serious about it here, they've installed one of the most sophisticated and expensive security systems around. The action is still on the floor, but the secrets are found in the ceiling.
In any casino, you see bubbles. Underneath the bubbles are the cameras. This room is a central location to operate those cameras. We have 350 cameras approximately in each casino, each capable of full pan, tilt, and zoom. There's no blind spots in the casino as far as our cameras are concerned. We could zoom in and see a second-hand move on a watch at 6 different angles.
The moment you enter the casino, you're on-camera talent, and everything you do is recorded on tape, which can then be used as evidence against you if you try to bilk the house. It's a system so formidable, the hotel has never lost a case.
We've got approximately $2 million invested in this room here. So we don't want to just slap the person on the hand. If they're doing something wrong against us or any of our patrons, we want to go for full prosecution.
And cameras aren't the only eyes in the sky. The games can also be monitored from above through two-way mirrors.
This is a visual aid looking over the casino floor to watch all the live table games. We can see things here that sometimes aren't seen with the cameras right away and get people with the cameras on those games as soon as possible. It's important that, that they don't know where you are and what you watch, because that'll keep people honest that may not be honest.
In Vegas, they've seen every kind of scam imaginable, and many of them have been saved forever on videotape. What you're about to see are not recreations. They are actual attempts at cheating captured by the casino's cameras. Watch the screen very carefully. This is a roulette ploy called past posting, placing a bet after the ball has landed. All the players are working together to distract the dealer so one of the players can sneak a bet onto the number that's just come up. A distraction, a bet, and a guaranteed winner. Watch closely now in slow motion. The man at the right creates a distraction while the ball lands. The man at the bottom places the winning bet with his partner's chips. And while his partners walk away apparent losers, the man at the left collects thousands of dollars in winnings.
We just had an occurrence happen here with a woman 80 years old. And she was a typical little old 80-year-old lady, except that she had a record, and she had done this several times before. There'll be a player with considerable amount of chips and what they call the rail in front of where he's playing. Someone will come next to him on either side, and as the person is shooting or is looking at a different area, they'll just come and grab some of the person's chips who has them all in front of him and put them in his pocket. These people practice day in and day out to beat the system.
Even people who know the system's in place will occasionally try to beat it. This dealer is taking chips out of the tray and palming them in his right hand while continuing to pay off the winners. He'll go back, take more chips out. Now he's palming five $5 chips. He puts them in his pocket and thinks he's gotten away with it.
We had a dealer who was pretending to have a cold. So he'd keep going to his face or his nose or rubbing his eye. So he'd get the people around him used to this move, like he had a cold. When he felt that everyone around him felt comfortable with these moves, he'd put his hand on top of a stack of chips, take one, rub his eye, and put the chip in his mouth. He would do this 1 or 2 minutes before his relief would come in to take him off the game, because they worked 40 minutes on, 20 minutes off. We saw him do it up here, and we were going to nail him this one evening. So he put a $100 chip in his mouth, and we held up his relief. We didn't have, nobody believed him. You talk about getting nervous. He's got a $100 chip in his mouth. He can't spit it out. He can't swallow it. It's too big. He knows his relief is late, and he just stays there. We let him stay there for 15 minutes before Gamey came and arrested him right on the floor. When we arrest people, we do it right at the casino floor on a live game. It makes the customers know that we're right on the job. It makes the people who work here think twice. Is it worth it? I was trained not to trust anyone in my job. And it's very easy for me because I'm Sicilian anyway.
It might not be justified, but a lot of people think of today's used car salesman as the modern-day version of the old snake oil vendor, somebody who's out to take you for a ride in more ways than one. Well, if you're in the market for a used car, we've got some secrets we'd like to reveal. Now, let's take this baby right here. How do we know this car hasn't been in an accident? One thing you might check is whether it's been repainted. Look for overspraying, paint where it shouldn't be, under the hood, here, along the door jambs, or right here, along the chrome. See how the paint is on the chrome in addition to the body? Here's another indication a car could have been in an accident. This is an easy test. Take a magnet and a piece of paper, and then run it along the body. If the magnet falls off, there's no metal underneath here. That's body filter. And by the way, that's an easy test you can perform on your own car at home, but do yourself a favor and use the piece of paper. What about car keys? One key should open every door on the car. If there are multiple keys, that oftentimes is an indication that a door has had to have been replaced. The tires now. Check the tires to make sure all of them are the same size. And you know the old refrain about kicking the tires? Well, if you do that, that's going to tell you absolutely nothing about the car, but it's going to tell the dealer all he needs to know about you. Next up, you know, it's hard to believe, but almost half the people who play video games in America are adults. So, Mom and Dad, we've got a secret that you'll enjoy as well as your kids, and it's something your kids don't even know. A little bit later in the show, we're going to reveal to you how to beat Super Mario Bros. 3, the hottest new game in the country. For now, though, one quick tip. How to give Super Mario eternal life.
I'm in World 3-4. And what I'm going to do is see if I can find one of these turtles over here and toss the turtle so he goes back and forth between the blocks. Every time a new Spiny comes down, you'll be able to rack up an extra life.
UFO sightings are not that uncommon. In fact, an average of 6 are reported every day, and they've been spotted all around the country. But when a significant number of sightings come from one small town and have been reported over a period of several years, you have to think something odd is happening. Either that or an entire community has gone into orbit. Gulf Breeze is a quiet little town of 5,000 in the northwestern Panhandle.
This is an ABC News special report on the Gulf War.
Up in the sky, and there was no glow around it. It was just there.
I thought it was a star, and it kept getting brighter and brighter, coming closer and closer. I don't have a good enough grasp of it to really understand how to even try to begin to understand.
Scanning the skies has become a social event in Gulf Breeze. One of the favored watching areas is a park next to the Pensacola Bridge. Here, UFO hunters ready their cameras, VCRs, and binoculars and wait.
Boy, I'd love to see something.
It's January 11th, 10:48 p.m. While our cameras are there, word goes out again.
That's it.
Got something?
That's it. That's it.
An unidentified object is seen in the sky. As you see from this unedited videotape shot by our America's Best Kept Secrets camera crew, the object appears as a glowing red light.
It's marvelous. They're all having a good time. There's some people who have a need that they be the center of attention. There's certainly going to be plenty of people in the town who've seen lights just like you have, who will swear that the light they saw is exactly the same light that is identical to the images that Ed Walters has shown in his photographs. That doesn't make them liars. It doesn't make Ed's pictures true. These are not scientific comments on the part of the local people.
So what was the red light we saw in the sky? Well, to solve the puzzle, we first tried to eliminate the obvious. To begin with, there are 4 major military installations within a 30-mile radius of the Gulf Breeze area, plus the Pensacola International Airport. We checked with the airport control tower first, and were told there were definitely no planes taking off or landing at the time of our sighting. They suggested we contact the Air Force. But the Air Force said they had no planes in the vicinity at that time either, and suggested we try the Navy. The Navy echoed the Air Force, telling us, quote, there were no flights or weapons testing that evening. No civilian aircraft, no Air Force planes, no Navy planes, and no reports of anything unusual from the Coast Guard. So what is going on in Gulf Breeze, Florida?
I think there has been a concerted effort by our government to suppress information about UFOs. I believe they know a great deal more than they're telling us. I think there's a great deal of evidence in that direction.
Whether or not the government can keep that kind of secret, I have no idea. They're in the business to keep secrets if they need to, but just the act of being able to do it for over 30 years, I find it improbable.
I'd have to say that any single factor by itself wouldn't stand up, but all of them combined go to paint a picture that is irrefutable, that the best military minds in our area say is not our own military, which leads me to believe that it must be extraterrestrial.
So are UFOs real, and are they in the skies above Gulf Breeze? Who knows? Whatever the answer, something strange is happening there, and it's still a secret. When we come back, we'll board an airline so exclusive your travel agent doesn't even know it exists.
Sinfully indulgent. They give me the urge to do something naughty. This tag clearly reads, "Do not remove under penalty of law."
Run! As the great taste of Planters proves, we're the reason why everybody loves a nut.
It's Red Lobster's new lunch special. Shrimp and chicken, just $3.99. Golden fried shrimp and grilled chicken breast with salad and baked potato, just $3.99 for a limited time at Red Lobster for lunch.
Got great curves? Great curves deserve
18-hour.
Playtex 18-hour bra. Supports full figures more beautifully.
Comfortably.
Great curves deserve
The 18-hour bra.
From Playtex, the fit that makes the fashion.
Tuesday, the guys plan a wild bachelor party.
Strippers? Yeah, strippers.
Ooh. So the girls have a night out.
This is happening.
Believe me, they're not having this much fun.
30-something. Wednesday.
Is there something wrong with him?
He ate my shoes.
Glad he's not my dog.
Kevin, I think we should have Buster fixed.
The Wonder Years and
I'm Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
Mike joins a group to get the girl.
I'm Mike.
Hi.
On Growing Pains, then
Doogie, I got the job.
Mom's on the staff.
Not bad, huh?
That was my mother. Thank God Doogie's still a virgin.
It's tough on Doogie Howser, MD.
I want you to quit.
Wednesday.
Used to be if you didn't have a truck, you couldn't hang with the boys. Well, they just upped the ante. Now you gotta have a Ford. Why? First of all, Ford F-150 gives you more horsepower and a bigger cargo box. The Ford also has a rugged twin I-beam suspension. Chevy's suspension is similar to some passenger cars. Passenger cars! Can you picture yourself four-wheeling in the family car? Then why picture yourself in a Chevy when your Ford dealer can put you in a real truck for less money?
Ford F-150, only at your local Ford dealer.
Sun's out, break out with the new wave in chips.
Undulation, taste sensation, it's pure infatuation. Oh, Supremos, the new wave in chips. Cool onion flavor, cheddar and jack, satisfy my snack attack. Lightly crispy waves of wheat, you can eat and eat and eat. And oh, Supremos.
New Supremos, crispy snack chips.
Oh, Supremos, the new wave in chips.
WUTR TV 20, Utica, Rome.
U.S. airlines spend more than $600 million a year on advertising. But there's one airline that's never spent a dime in that area. Why? Well, they don't care about your business. You see, their clientele is already locked in. It's America's secret airline. No published time schedules, no frequent flyer plans, no catchy jingles. And the service is the ultimate in no frills. In fact, the only thing they haven't skimped on is security. This airline isn't for everyone, although if you meet certain qualifications, you do get to ride for free. And 43,000 passengers did last year. Of course, there is one little hitch. The only passengers allowed aboard are convicts, federal prisoners the government is transporting from one city to another.
They're not here because they want to be. They're here because we put them here for a purpose.
Welcome to the one and only Con Air.
Well, for one thing, we don't have stewards on there. We have a large number of deputy U.S. Marshals on that plane. And also, we don't serve coffee nor tea, just me.
Like other airlines, Con Air does offer reserved seating. Women sit in the front, men in back. Want a window seat? Well, if you're violent or considered an escape risk, you'll get one.
Believe me, we have people on that plane would go to any means to escape.
On this airline, the seats don't recline, there are no movies, and don't bother looking for tray tables. Not that the passengers could reach them anyway. They're restrained by leg irons, waist irons, and handcuffs. And the in-flight announcement isn't like any you've heard before.
Listen up on the aircraft. Fasten your seat belts during takeoff. Keep your seat belts on. If you have a problem, ask one of the deputies to help you out.
Con Air doesn't exactly fly the friendly skies, so their timetable is a highly guarded secret. After all, the jet setters on this plane are murderers, rapists, bank robbers, and Colombian drug smugglers. The Con Air fleet includes 16 planes, 3 of them confiscated from drug dealers. In a typical day, the fleet will hit as many as 36 different destinations.
You know, being unable to move is the only difference. I mean, it's comfortable flying everything.
I'm originally from Ohio, and you know, I'm on my way to California now, sunny California.
But not everyone is happy with the ride.
No peanuts. No, you can't talk to the men. Not that I want to, but you can't talk to the men.
About the only thing Con Air has in common with commercial carriers is that they do serve an in-flight meal.
Well, the food that the U.S. Marshals serve on Con Air is not your basic gourmet food. What we serve on there is a plain sandwich, potato chips, and a drink.
To visit the bathroom, you need permission and an escort. Once there, your chains are left on, and for security reasons, the door stays open.
For 200 years, we've been involved in the transportation of prisoners. We're looking at a cost of approximately about $176 at this time per passenger. The increase in the prisoner load has gone beyond what the capabilities of the system could provide, so we've had to switch to a mass transit type system.
The moment one of these planes touches down, it taxis to a remote corner of the airport, where it is immediately surrounded by heavily armed federal agents. No passenger terminals or skyways here, just police cars, vans, and buses full of other prisoners waiting to depart. When the rear door is finally lowered, the prisoners are let off a few at a time.
What's your name? What's your age? Know your number?
On Con Air, the passenger list is checked as thoroughly after landing as it is before takeoff. And it's certainly the only airline where flight attendants give you this kind of personal attention. Every passenger is searched closely before and after the flight. Deputies check for drugs or anything that could be used as a weapon. For security reasons, Con Air doesn't fly at night or on weekends. And when you do fly, you may sit through as many as 7 stopovers along the way. For those used to normal airline travel, Con Air can leave a little to be desired.
If I had to compare this flight to the last one, I'd walk all the way back to D.C. I'd walk.
Con Air is only a nickname, but the marshals say they like it, even if it wasn't their first choice. But you see, the name Federal Express was already taken. It's amazing how many secrets are right under our noses, or some other parts of our anatomy for that matter. Take the black stripe on the back of your ATM or any credit card. Did you ever wonder what little secrets are held by that black stripe? Let me show you. Last year, Americans ran up charges of more than $470 billion on their credit cards. But every time you say charge it, you're not just adding to your debt, you're adding information to secret files about you. At credit card centers like this, that information is collected, stored, and then used to determine not just how much you owe, but things like whether you're a good risk. The first information comes from your application form, but the rest comes and keeps on coming from that little black stripe.
Our magnetic